Hi there, I'm Anise Kavanaugh. I am the creator of the IEP Method, the author of Contagious Culture and Contagious You, the founder of the Positive Energy Workplace Initiative, and CEO of Active Choices Incorporated. So I am bringing this to you because we have created something that we think is going to be really, really incredibly helpful in order to help organizations arm their workforce with the tools to help them show up with more intentions, energy, and presence, and really bring their best selves to work. So going to talk about it in just a few minutes, but before I do that, I want to just ask you a couple of questions. One, I want you to think about your workforce. I want you to think about yourself, your leadership team, and just think about the energy that everybody is bringing to the table right now. Just think about how people are showing up. Think about how people are feeling about work, thinking about how intentional people are in their meetings. How pleasurable are your meetings right now? How productive are your meetings? If you are in an industry that you're responsible for putting your workforce out in front of clients, in front of sales, in front of other organizations, I want you to just think about how are your people actually showing up? How are they actually showing up right now? That's one thing to think about. So just consider that for a moment. How are you showing up? So just think about that. How's your leadership team showing up? Next thing I want you to think about is what would happen if we could differentiate the way that your workforce shows up from other organizations? What would happen if you could differentiate the way that people came to their work, the way that they engaged in conversations, the way that they showed up, the way that they navigated conflict, the way that they took accountability? What would happen if you could differentiate the way your organization does that versus other organizations, other talent? Right? What would happen with that? What would happen in terms of retention for your current company and your current employees, in terms of attraction for new people, in terms of being a truly best place to work or a truly positive energy workplace? What would happen if you could differentiate your people? Okay. What if you could speed up your process of innovation and collaboration and honest conversations? What if you could actually get stuff done more effectively, more productively, because people were focusing on the right things? They weren't focusing on drama or what wasn't happening, or if they weren't in meetings, or if people liked them, or whatever might be going on. They weren't focused on drama, but they were actually really clear and intentional and focused on creating results in the company, creating new products, creating new services, creating healthy relationships. What would happen? What would happen if people started to really activate their energy in the right direction so that you had a quicker turnaround on your amazing products, services, and also the health of your organization? What would happen there? All right. And what would happen if you actually did get to retain your top talent? What would happen if the people in your organization were excited to continue to grow with your organization, if they wanted to continue to grow into bigger levels of leadership, if they wanted to really show up in a beautiful way so that the company could keep growing? What would happen then? What would happen? What would happen if your new people that are coming in, that are joining the company, if they're actually excited to be there? Because when they come in, they feel the energy of your workforce. They feel the energy of their leadership. They feel the purpose drivenness of the organization. What would happen there? What would happen there? And then finally, what would happen if your people, before they decided to, quiet quit, or they decided to leave, loud quit, what would happen if they actually came to you and talked to you before there was a problem, or before it got to the point where they just gave up because they didn't think it was worth talking about anymore? What would happen there? So there are a couple very big what if scenarios, like how, what might that be like if you were to have that in your organization? Those scenarios that I just named are all incredibly doable. What we find is that in the busyness of work and life and business and fiscal responsibilities and all the different things that we all have responsibility for, so often the most simple things get left behind in terms of how do we set ourselves up for success. And what we have found in our organization over the last 21 years of working with companies and individuals and leaders in every single industry, almost every single industry, at almost every single level of leadership, what we have found is that the intentions, energy, and presence, the intentional energetic presence, the IEP of every single person coming into that workforce makes or breaks the things that we just talked about. So how we show up, our intentional energetic presence, the energy we bring to our lives, to each other, the level of intentionality we bring into our meetings, the level of presence we bring to everything that we do, this makes or breaks those scenarios that I just offered you. So without IEP, you have exhausting meetings, you have scattered to-dos, you have really, really tricky innovation and tricky collaboration because people aren't actually talking to each other. They're not actually present. They're not telling each other the truth. You have people who leave before they talk about actually the fact that they were going to leave. You have a lack of honest conversations. I could go on and on and on. Basically, let's go back to what's possible with those scenarios that I named. So the methodology we're talking about here is called the IEP Method. This is something that I have been developing for 21 years, working with all sorts of individuals and companies. There is a 3-part process to this methodology. There are a lot of different tools and frameworks to support it. But at the end of the day, the thing that we want to make sure that your workforce is getting ASAP is just the core basics of IEP. The core basics of IEP. So we have created an on-demand online program. It's called Introduction to IEP. We have created an online on-demand program in under 2 hours that everybody in your organization can go through. You can go ahead, you can have everybody go through it. You can gamify it. You can break it apart into different modules. You can have your internal talent team facilitate it. But this particular offering is something that I think is probably one of the most important things we've done, just in that you can get everybody that is coming in, whether they're onboarding into a new position, whether you're in the contingent workforce space and you're really wanting to make sure that your people show up in a way that is going to beat the competition. Like imagine that if you're in the contingent workforce space, imagine sending your workers out for their interviews and they're actually showing up with greater intentions, energy, and presence. They're actually showing up in a way that's more accountable. Just for normal workforces, just think about if your people are coming in, they automatically come in, they get onboarded with this is just part of their onboarding. They get onboarded with the tools and the way of thinking and the ways of working that we talk about in IEP. And then you now have shared language. You have shared understanding of why it's important to show up and what you guys are actually showing up for. What my team and I are finding again and again and again right now is that if we can just get the organization, the team, the division to do introduction to IEP, if we can get you guys to do that together, it saves a ton of time in terms of helping people understand that their energy, their intentions, their presence has impact, that they have impact on the culture and the experience they're creating. It creates a ton of, saves a ton of time on helping people start to be more accountable for how they're showing up, on helping people really look at how are they creating psychological safety and the space for people to have hard conversations or not. It saves a ton of time around actually looking at how do you build stronger teams and relationships just with this core framework. And if nothing else, it saves a ton of time on your meetings, a ton of time on your meetings. So imagine this as we start to complete here. Imagine coming into your meetings and everybody's on time, they're present, they're prepared, they're intentional about how they're showing up, they're taking ownership for how they're showing up, they're focusing on the right things, and you actually start to decrease the amount of meetings and the timing of the meetings because you have fully engaged, intentional individuals in your meeting. So imagine, okay? Low engagement is a symptom of bad energy. I don't know how else to say it. Low engagement is a symptom of not having intentions, energy, and presence, of not being connected to what we're talking about here, of not being connected to purpose. So we want to really look at that. Soft skills, more and more studies are showing that the soft skills are absolutely essential. But in the busyness of the world right now, companies are having a hard time training soft skills effectively. So get the IEP work in to help it amplify anything else that you're doing. Have a beautiful day. If you'd like to learn more, please do reach out. I'll put up a little thing here. Go ahead and reach out, and we will be happy to have a conversation with you to talk about how we can get this work into your organization in a really simple way. And We'd love to talk. So take care of yourself and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.